Welcome to Sarcastically Optimistic Podcast with your host, this guy, rummelreq. I'm really glad that you're here, and welcome to the podcast where a lot of the things that we're going through are real. We are talking about things that are lessons that I'm learning across my journey, things I'm learning from other people, but most importantly, just to remind you that you're not alone in this entire process that you call life, and that we are all trying to figure things out. And just to give you a sense of comfort that you are not alone in this journey, that there are people out there that love you and, whatever, so be it, the spiel. So today we just wanted to talk about, we, as in you and me, I wanted to talk about exactly what influences you and what exactly promotes you to do what you want to do. When was the last time you asked yourself, is this what I want? Is this what I really want? Or is it someone else's wants? I know it's a really strange question to ask yourself, what other people want? But if you think about it, with the prevalence of social media since gosh knows how long, man, when did we all get iPod touches and stuff? Or we saw people get iPod touches? 2011, 2012? I know Love the Way You Lie by Rihanna and Eminem was really popular. Empire State of Mind was really popular. Billionaire and Nothing on You by Bruno Mars was still popular, and no one really knew who that Filipino guy was for a second with the hat. Yeah, this is around the time where Bruno didn't take off his hat yet. Anyways, I go on a tangent with this music thing. What exactly influences you? When we have social media, it's really hard to determine what exactly we like. And yes, we are all in agreement that we have this algorithm that is set out for us, and we always say, thank you, FBI agent, who always tailors our content on our phones and our laptops and whatever platform that we go on in accordance to what we like and what we don't like. So that FBI agent that is assigned to you, if you ever watch one of those social dilemma documentaries or mockumentaries on Netflix or even The Social Network, you kind of got an idea that there are people that work on the other side of those platforms to ensure that you are receiving the entertainment that you actually enjoy. They measure the time in which you look at a Harry Styles clip, so they'll just bombard you with Harry Styles things. That's exactly how my For You page is constructed currently. But that is not a problem. A lot of people are really into that stuff. But the problem with that, again, the dark side of it, is that it creates these emotions and this dark side of the internet, which makes us long for more and more and more. We've talked about the small wins and how we always tend to, as humans, and especially with the influence of social media, to kind of kick our finish line further and further away, because when we reach our goals, it never ever feels like enough. And that can be a huge problem, especially when you're moving forward with your life and you actually want to attain what we call happiness in this given life, as if it's something that you have to constantly pursue, as opposed to embracing that you've always had it, depending on what you're doing with your life, and allowing it to be freed up rather than caging it in yourself and waiting for the perfect moment to release it. Happiness, right? So what exactly is want and what is desire? Now, those are definitions that you kind of have to fill in for yourself. Want is something that you are yearning for. It's something that you want to have in your possession. Again, this doesn't have to be materialistic. It can be something like happiness, right? It's something that can be like love, something intangible, something that you can't really hold with your hands. So you said. And then also, what is desire? That joke really threw me off. But what is desire as well? Desire isn't something that is a word that is thrown around as much as want. Like you don't really go about your day and then bump into someone saying, I desire you, which would be really weird. And if you are in that circumstance, you should run for your life, to be quite honest with you. I'm just being real. And this podcast, we're always being real here. Sarcastically, optimistic, real. And desire is such a strange word. And as of right now, it doesn't have a very good reputation, because we have all these weird public figures like, unfortunately I'm mentioning his name, Andrew Tate, whatever. I'm not deep into that hole. I've heard from other people how that hole is, so she said, and we're wondering, why people, we question freedom of speech, which isn't good, but a lot of those said people that are kind of on the same level as him, of Andrew Tate, unfortunately, have this weird way of presenting the word desire. And usually the word desire is mixed up with the emotion like, you know, like a dirty emotion of love, like lust, you know, desire, like I desire this, I desire that. And it does have a negative connotation, and that's because of how we've been using it and how we've had other people using it. Unfortunately, people have been kind of switching the book around, the definition behind desire. If you look it up, it's not as bad of a definition as you think or as other people present it to be. But my first encounter with desire has come from the book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You know, if you need to read that book, it's a great book. It's not always just about material wealth. It's also about the wealth of your time with others and your wealth with relationships. And don't get the title wrong. Don't get the title mixed up with something that's just about material wealth. It is also about just a general outlook and lesson of life about how we can be rich. Like, you can be rich with time. You can be rich with happiness and things like that. And one of the main words, I don't know if it's just my copy, but it's capitalized in all caps, desire. And desire is just something that is a natural, from what I take from it, is a natural gravity that we have towards something that we want. So it's like want in motion, right? We want something, it's the thought of something, and we're pulled towards it. That pull that we feel, driven by that want, is desire. So if you so be it, the want is like some sort of static thought of something that you want it in your possession. But if you're actually taking actionable steps, the gravity that you're creating towards you and that thing that you want at the end that you desire, that is desire, that gravity that is pulling towards what you actually want, right? Wanting, we all want something, but at the end of the day, wanting is just a thought. Desire is something that is more actionable, that you're kind of pushing towards. Now, why the heck are we talking about this? Why are we talking about want? Why are we talking about desire? And why did I introduce social media and then start talking about Rihanna? Now, the big thing is Rihanna's performance in the Super Bowl was amazing. First off, just want to put that out there. People didn't like it, like my family didn't, but it was awesome. Clearly, they're not the audience. Shout out to the 2010 people that were there when she was, oh man, it was great. I can't stop thinking about it now. But the reason why I want to bring it up is because what we first talked about in the first question I posed to you is that is what you want right now what you really want, or is it what other people want from you, right? We are influenced by social media because we have that FBI agent, we have that algorithm that tailors our likings to a page called the For You page in whatever platform that you're on, whether it be YouTube recommended, For You page, or FYP on TikTok, FYP on Twitter, whatever you so be it. I'm not that savvy with the platforms, to be quite honest with you. But there are a lot of resources that we are constantly bombarded with. And fortunately, we are connected to all these things. We can get and siphon inspiration from the littlest things, the littlest postings, whether it be someone's posting of a fitness journey, if we're like going through like a fitness phase or a fitness lifestyle change, or whether it be through music and you see a lot of covers on your For You page. There's a lot of things, and we can be hyper connected to these creatives and these potential sources of inspiration, which can prove very useful for us in the long term. Now, in the very, very long term, fortunately we are connected, but unfortunately we are connected. Let me explain this. Unfortunately, we are hyper connected. That word prefix hyper means that overly, right? Like you're hyper stimulated, you're overly stimulated. Now, hyper connected means we're overly connected. Now, the reason why meditation, and we're going to talk about this probably in a future episode, why meditation is so prevalent now is because we're realizing as a society that we are hyper connected, that there's just too much, as Naval Ravikant says, that there's too much society for us to handle. We lived in an age where we had to look around the grocery store when we were waiting in line. We didn't have a phone to look at. We didn't have influences other than the magazines that were next to the racks of bubblegum and candy next to the cashier, right? But now we can just open up our phone. We can literally look up a question or just like a random thought in our head. Like I was just saying to my friend the other day, I was like, what else did I see Pedro Pascal in other than The Last of Us, other than that and Game of Thrones and stuff? So like in line, I literally looked at Pedro Pascal and I got his whole history of movies and works that he's done. But none of that really benefited me other than knowing more about him. If anything, gave him more fame because, I got him another click. But now we live in this hyper-connected reality where we can just look up anything in the world in a millisecond. And if you think about it relative to how many years ago, like even 20, 30, hundreds of years ago, like we're seeing so much more, many more people and faces than probably the first king of France did in his lifetime, because of how connected we are as a society. And that can prove very detrimental in the very, very long run. Again, like, it's good to have inspiration for certain posts, but there is, crap posting where there's memes and stuff that don't really benefit us. We get a good chuckle out there, but then we return to our mundane lives and we drink our mug of tears and things like that. Everything remains the same after reading that meme, other than those good Harry Potter memes recently. But the dark side of it is that there's so much influence that we have to take a break from it all. We have to kind of silence it if we really want to be in tune with our own emotions, with our own wants, our own desires. Because if you look at your wants and desires and you're just really sad looking at where you are in life and you realize this isn't really something that you like, it's kind of a reality check. I've been there before, so I'm not a hypocrite, realizing that this isn't the path for me. Maybe this is something that, even coming from an Asian household, maybe it's your parents influenced you to be like that. And unfortunately, we're entering an era where maybe the media is influencing you to become an entrepreneur or like escape to 9 to 5. And it's so unfortunate that we're putting so much negativity on people that work 9 to 5s, because they work their butts off for their families and for themselves even. And there's no need for negativity tossed towards them. And I feel like I've tossed a lot of 9 to 5 negativity on people that work 9 to 5, because I was a 9 to 5 worker before, and I had it was all sourced and stemmed from a place of frustration, of course. But there should be an equality of respect for everyone that is working in general. So again, we are influenced by the media to have these random artificial negativity towards 9 to 5ers, positive reinforcement of being an entrepreneur, taking risks in whatever you so be it. And yes, it's great that we're being inspired to and encouraged to do more, but sometimes we lose ourselves in what other people desire and want. We lose ourselves in the wants and desires of other people, that in one way or another, it's like that scene from Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 2 specifically, where Voldemort and Harry merged into one head. They were like falling off a cliffside, and then like they were fighting, and then because, piece of whole Voldemort's in Harry, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, they merge into one head. And it's kind of the same thing with the wants and desires of other people. Sometimes if we don't take the time to take a break from media, we don't take a break from what other people are saying on our phones and whatever people are texting, whatever, and we're not becoming in tune with what we want and reflecting on what we want. Again, that's why meditation is so prevalent, is because we are kind of cutting off the hyper part of hyperconnectivity, and we are mediating the consumption, right? There is a term called mental masturbation, which means you just keep going to things to learn more and more and more, but you're not giving yourself enough time to rest and relax and kind of settle into your own understanding of something that you learned that's new. And if we don't take that break, it's going to be nearly impossible to discover what exactly you want, what exactly you desire as a person. And that is the unfortunate side. Yes, we have infinite amounts of influence. We have infinite amounts of posts that may potentially encourage us. But at the end of the day, we are going through this journey. We know exactly what we like and what we don't like. And you probably know exactly what other people like that you just like because they like it and you don't necessarily like it, but you just want to kind of fit in. You probably know those things. I am a victim of that as well. And that's completely human. The feeling of, conforming to what other people like just to fit in. But at the end of the day, what you like, what you don't like. And this episode is just to reassure you that it's completely normal not to like something that everyone else likes. It actually makes you more unique, and you'll probably gain a little bit more respect than you would if you just give in and just say, I like it. And then you kind of don't. You look around, you're like, I kind of don't like that. So we've talked about in a previous episode about vision, and your wants and desires is basically the foundation of your vision of your life. And there was this random thought that I had at 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m.? Not in the morning, that's redundant. I had this random thought in the morning of 3 o'clock of how me too, that I kind of lose track of what I like and desire for the sake of what other people like and desire and want. And your life kind of depends and leans on your foundational vision of what you envision for yourself. What do you visualize that your future self will be, what your future self will have that will actually increase your happiness? And that doesn't really mean material wise. That can also be what kind of people you're surrounding yourself with, the amount of time that you spend with those that you love, partaking in the hobbies and activities that you thoroughly enjoy, and maybe not everyone else will enjoy. And it made me realize that we talk about vision a lot. And even though we don't talk about vision as much as we should, if we don't realize what we want and desire, we'll never, ever have that vision that will make life sweet. The only vision that we'll technically have are the vision that comes from our two eyes. And sometimes, and for some of us, that's already extremely poor from the get-go, unfortunately. But there is a second vision, which you definitely need, and that is the vision not from your two eyes, but the ones from your heart and the one from your mind. And that one is strictly important, and I don't think we talk about that enough. And hopefully that got you thinking. It definitely got me thinking a lot about what I envision for, what feeds the heart, right? Like, rather than what feeds the eyes. We are living in an overstimulated society where just literally everything is so colorful, everything is just so beautiful. But the beauty is a little too much sometimes. You're overstimulated, and on Instagram, you're seeing people post here and there about their own lives that we forget to focus and hone in on exactly what our lives look like. And as we open up our For You page for whatever platform that you but you that you decide to go on, we're delaying our real emotion that we're actually feeling. We're sometimes using media as an escape from our own wants and desires because we know that it's not accepted, and sometimes we rely on media and other people to validate our own likings and dislikings, and that's not necessarily correct and not true to yourself. So this episode is supposed to reassure you that you should actually have and start, if you haven't, creating this wedge, this wall between what you want and desire with what other people want and desire, because those are very, very different things. And if you find people that those align with, those are the people that you're more cohesive with, that you kind of banter off well with. Find those people that those two things are kind of the same, so you guys can encourage each other. Especially if you're going through a creative journey, you really want to find someone that is on the same wavelength as you, that you want to, have it as an accountability partner in some regard, or kind of inspire you to keep going when it does feel a little rough, right? So separate what you want and desire from what other people want and desire. And unfortunately, because of media, that line between the two, as Robin Thicke says, is a blurred line. And we want to make sure that that line is as clear as day. We want to ensure that we are staying true to ourselves, right, at the end of the day. And I'm personally trying to figure this out. So I'm not trying to act like some sort of person that is telling you that this is the go-to solution and you should do this because I am doing it. But it's just a current under construction realm in my life that has a lot of facets just like yours. We're all going through something, but it is something to think about, just like a lot of the episodes that we're going to put out from here on out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll actually leave you with a quote that I found. I don't know what book I found it in, but it's by a guy named David Foster Wallace. I'm pretty sure this is an author. Don't know where the quote came from. I think it's from a book I was reading. Again, I just write, so my mind is messy. So the quote goes, "You'll become way less concerned about what other people think about you when you realize how seldom they do." And that is because I want to introduce this. The reason I want to introduce this quote is because we're overly concerned of how people perceive us to be, how they perceive us of, do they like the same things I like? Do they dislike the same things I dislike? That we forget and lose ourselves in the perception of others rather than really getting clear in what we perceive ourselves to be. And that's the most important part of life, and how we perceive ourselves. Not to build your ego, to build your arrogance, and we're going to talk about in the future episode, but just to reassure you that, people are thinking about you less than you really think they do. So if you want to partake in some sort of endeavor in your life, a journey, and you're scared of what other people will think, just remember they think about you less than you think, and that you should still do it. Because if you really want it, that want to do something means something, and you have to put it in motion. You have to convert it into a desire equaling a want in motion, right? Just like, emotions. They're just like feelings in motion. So ensure that you are staying true to yourself, and you're not alone through this process. Find the people that like the things that you like, things that you dislike, but make sure you have some variety, some diversity. It doesn't have to be exactly a carbon copy of what you like and don't like, because if everyone was just like you in the world would be kind of a boring place. There would be no diversity. There would be no like room for growth or anything. So find the people that challenge you and kind of remind you, are walking embodiment of what the message of this episode is, and it is to stay true to yourself by separating your wants, desires, with what other people want and desire for you, because what you want and desire is going to get you far in life. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flop. This was a long episode, I think. I'm not even looking at the time anymore. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Follow, if this really helps, do share it with someone that you think really needs to hear this message. Trying to increase the reach of this. Follow on Instagram, Sarcastically Optimistic Podcast. I think I need to reduce the handle on Instagram, because that's way too long. This is also on YouTube. I do flip-flop. That's why I say flippity-flop with the YouTube videos and tracks on streaming platforms, because sometimes the camera dies. I'm still trying to work on it. I did get a new tripod, so I'm like looking at you at eye level now, which is awesome. But just know that you are loved. Remind people that they're loved. And if you feel that any of the messages that you've come across on this podcast really helped you, that can really benefit someone else, please do share. And do let me know how I'm doing, and do let us know, because a lot of the messages actually I'm learning from my family and friends. Let us all know what you think about this and what topics that you wanna listen to. So feel free to message me on Instagram, YouTube. I don't think YouTube is messaging anymore. If you have my personal, feel free to message me. I leave an email on the description of this, of every episode now, just so that you have that. We have that open line of communication with each other. I'm really glad that you're here. Follow, like, and subscribe. Ring that bell so you get notified for every Monday. New episode drops every Monday at around 5 a.m. PST, and that's pretty early, but that's 8 a.m. EST for the East Coast people. Again, my mom lives on the West Coast, so I'm just doing the East Coast for formality. I know that probably my mom's the only one that listens to this. Thank you guys. I love you guys so much. It's been a year. Wow. It's been a year since we've been together. What a great year, huh? All right, guys. Catch you guys on the flippity flop. Goodbye.
Yeah. Baby, why you always smoke a J, relax and watch some anime, come through the pad I'm trying to play, the Super Smash Bros, what you know, wait to let me pick Blue Carbo, yo, you don't even know what I'm saying, up B, and down B, now be playing, praying, anything with you, baby girl, it's a day.